Let's see if I have any of these books. Oh wait, I don't own any of them because I checked them all out from the library and I still haven't read my bookshelf. Hi guys. This is my June and May wrap up, and like I just said, I'm kind of slacking on a video I filmed back in May, didn't post until mid-June for some reason, and it was a video called Read My Bookshelf. And I hadn't written them all out, what months I needed to read what books and stuff and what were good for summer and everything. But I'm slowly kind of building them up. Like at December, I was supposed to read 2 books. Now I think I'm reading 3 books in December. And some of the other months I'm reading even 4 off my bookshelf. So I kind of need to pick it up. Because all the books I read, there were 12 books between May and June. And one I didn't finish and one I'm 99% finished with. But I added both of them in. But I think I only read 1 for my bookshelf, which is really bad. And there's like 4 of them I have half finished, and it's sad. But I wrote my list because I can't remember them, and they were all from a library, so I don't have them here, so I don't exactly remember them. But we'll start with like the first ones I read in May. The first one I read was actually a new release sometime in the spring, and it was called Geekerella. And I think I saw a YouTube review on it, and that's what made me want to go and read it. It's by Ashley Poston. The book is a Cinderella retelling, so I love Cinderella retellings, obviously. I love fairy tale retellings, apparently. I can't get out of that YA children's genre because I like retellings that much. There needs to be more adult fairy tale retellings, I'm guessing. But Geekerella is definitely YA, PG, easy for young adult readers, and new adults would probably enjoy it as well. It is about a girl who works in a pumpkin food truck, hence Cinderella, and her father used to put on a thing kind of like Comic-Con, and she decides to go back to Comic-Con, but through a link, a movie star who is a big buff on this movie that she's obsessed with, and he's going to be starring in it. She hates him, and he's actually an obsessed person with this book, and he texts her because he thinks it's her father and he doesn't want to go to this Comic-Con, and she ends up texting him. They join this friendship without really knowing each other, and then they actually like find out who each other are at the Comic-Con, and she actually ends up really liking the boy and he ends up liking her. And so yeah, it's a cute little romantic love story. Number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, 4 of them. Number 2, 3, 4, and 5 were all by J.R. Ward, and I read these back in April. I think if you saw my April wrap up, I read the first one called Dark Lover, and I didn't know if I was going to go on reading them. And then apparently I got obsessed with reading them because I could check them out on my phone, and I could read them like in the black and white text. I could read them at night and not annoy anybody. And so I went through them really rather quickly. But this is the Dagger Brotherhood series, I believe, if I remember right. And I picked up the last one in book form, and I haven't touched it since. So that should tell you something. You read them on your books, I guess. But they are spicy, super spicy. I thought they would be more like Sookie Stackhouse because it's on that vampire fantasy genre, definitely adult, 100% adult, but these were super spicy. So yeah, it goes through the Brotherhood. So that, let me look at my notes. The second one was about Rage and Mary. Okay, and so Rage is part of the Dagger Brotherhood, and then Mary is, if I remember right, she's just a normal human, but she has a very calming voice apparently. And Rage turns into a monster because he was cursed, or a beast. So yeah, that's the second story, and it's about how they fall in love. The third book was, let me look at my notes, Love Awakened, and this is about Zadis and Bella. And this story probably was one of my favorites because it kind of goes like in historical, and Zadis is really old, and he's had very traumatic beginning of life. And so he has a really hard past and does not trust women or anything in the romance genre at all. And Bella is a very, very, very strong female character. And she has lived in this world because she is a vampire. Are they vampires? Yeah. And she is a vampire, so I had to think about what they do because they're weird vampires. They I won't go into it, but yeah, so that was one of my favorite stories so far. And then book number 3 was about the cop, I believe, Butch. Yeah, so it's about Butch and Marissa, and I love Butch because he's a human, basically. And so that story was also intriguing. And Marissa is not. She's like really, really high up, like in this vampire world. And Butch is a cop, and she's really pretty and innocent. And he's really a rough and tumble kind of character. He's had a very short life compared to most of the characters in these stories, but he's had a rough one. So number 5 is Lover Unbound. And this one was about, okay, so number 5 is Lover Unbound, and it's about Vicious and Dr. Jane. One of my least favorite stories, but it was still good because it involved a human again this time, and she was a strong woman, Dr. Jane, because she actually had a life. She couldn't just like accept this life that he lived in and this fantasy world that he lived in, because she had a normal, everyday human life. And so that's why I like that one. And Vicious, what was his problems? Oh, he sees the future. But they're really fast reads. If you're into that adult kind of thing, or if you want to read something like that, they're pretty good. And if you're into that fantasy, they're pretty good. I mean, they're pretty close to Sookie Stackhouse. That's the level they're on. I think I did them all 3 out of 5 on Goodreads. So those ones went by pretty fast. Number 7. Okay, this one I could not finish, honestly. This is one of the... There is very, 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 very rarely that I do not finish books. It's like 1 out of 100. And this one was called Losing It by Emma Rawthorne. I feel so bad, Rothbone, even mentioning it. But I was listening to this on audiobook while I was traveling over Memorial Day, I remember, and I couldn't listen to the character any longer. She was just kind of shallow, and there wasn't much depth. I get shallow characters, but then there just wasn't much depth beyond that. And it talks about losing her virginity, and she's older and somehow missed the train to lose it, but it's just not good. I jumped at the end to see what happened, and it wasn't even a good reveal. Like, it was what I guessed it was going to be. It wasn't a good story. I couldn't listen to the character. She was really, really self-absorbed and annoying. I guess that's the best way to put it. Number 8 was another series recommended to me by the same person who recommended me the Black Dagger Brothers series. It's kind of surprise, because both these are a little bit surprised from that person. But that person does particularly love fantasy. And it was what was that series? The Dark Hunter series, Night Pleasures by, hold on, I gotta read this, Sherilyn Kenyon. This one does not stand out. Like, I can't remember the story nearly as well as I remember the Black Dagger Hood. And that could tell you one thing about it. This story was it was kind of complicated. Like, the main character had a lot of envelopes. He had been cursed, and so he was Dark Hunter, and he was supposed to he hunts, I guess, monsters, and he comes across this woman, and he's not supposed to be in women entanglements and all this stuff, but it ends up that they're together, basically. And I mean, it's decent. It's like a 2 out of 5. But if you're into that realm, I would still, I don't know if I'd recommend it, actually. I don't know if I'll finish it. I think I did not pick up the second book, so I guess that'll tell you something too. And I read that one pretty early on in May, so I don't remember a great amount of details, and it's kind of sad when you don't remember a lot of it, but it kind of tells you if you should go on with the series or not. The next one, number 9, is Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefel. This one I think would be a good novel for YA. It is about a girl named Blue and these boys called the Raven Boys, and she stays away from them because her family and the people around her are all seers, and they've told her that the first boy she will ever kiss will die, and he will be a Raven Boy, I think. So she stays away from him, but then she ends up forming a friendship with this group of peculiar Raven Boys who do not live on the campus. All Raven Boys are these boys that go to this uppity, all boys, I think it's an all boys high school, and these particular group of boys do not live on campus. And she forms a big friendship with them and helps them through this bit of adventure because they're into magic and looking for this magical line. The books are pretty good if you're into that realm. And they actually enticed me enough that I'm listening to the second one. Been listening to it over a month, so I'm not so excited I have to finish it. But they're nice to listen to. They're very, very good characters. I love their names. One of them's name is like Gainsey, and let's see, what are their names? Blue, Gainsey, Noah, Rowan, and Adam. I just like all the names, really. But it's pretty good. I would recommend it if you're YA. Probably not if you're an adult. And they're pretty good books. They're surprisingly good. And I think this was a YouTube recommendation too as well. That's the reason I picked it up. So number 10, 11, 12 is a YA novel. And I don't know how I got sucked into reading the rest of these, but I read them in April. And they are so high-heartedly G-rated YA. So they're fantasy, and they're like an upgraded fantasy, I think is what I called these kinds of books. But I read the rest of the Dune series, and there was Destined for Dune, Shades of Dune, and Forever Dune. And Forever Dune is the book that I'm like 99% done with because I put it down and I really need to go back and pick it up and finish the last like 3-4 chapters. But it's about two young women who find this magical kingdom, and they both have callings for these cute boys, and there are troubles that go with them. In like the second book, one of the young women has chosen to go back to the real world and not stay in this world because she is obsessed with being in plays, and she's obsessed with performing and acting and singing, so she doesn't want to live in this world that doesn't even have theater. And then she decides she does want to go back when she gets into the real world. She gets sent back basically through a calling to help save the kingdom because she's there to help save, because she can see things that are poisonous and evil. So she does go back, and her and her boy or prince do fall in love again. Surprise, surprise. And then the next one is Shades of Dune. So this one's more about friendship, and both the girls who get sent back out into the real world a lot, and they can't figure out why they keep getting kicked out of this like fantasy world, even though one of them's a queen, and I hope that doesn't give anything away. But yeah, there's some evil stuff going on, and there is a reason for it. And at the end, one of them is like officially kicked out of the king, or she goes out of the kingdom to save a lot of people. So at the beginning of the last story, it's finally they have to defeat this witch that keeps destroying their mythical kingdom world, and that is the whole adventure. And half of them are outside of Dune, and half of them are inside of Dune, and some of them are captured, and some of them are in prison, some of them are being tortured, and they're kind of all over, and it jumps around from the two princes and the two girls, and it takes a long time for them all to become united and to defeat the witch, of course. So there's nothing too shocking or harmful in these. I don't think I haven't finished the last 3 chapters unless it happens. But yeah, I would call it an upgraded fairy tale from when you're 5. Very much young adult, preteen. They would like these books. Especially if they're like a good reader and young. But I think I got caught into them because, once again, I could rent them on my phone because they were easily accessed and they weren't like books you had to wait for. And so I would rent them from the library and just read them when I was on trains and planes. And I did a lot of traveling in June and May, and we're in the middle of doing a lot of life stuff, like moving, like my bookshelves. I started filming a bookshelf tour back in March, and I really need to finish it now because I'm moving my bookshelves because we're moving, which is really sad. But I'll have new bookshelves one day. And then the last but not least, in June, I read at the very end of June on a vacation. I started like 4 or 5 books on this vacation and finished one. And the other ones are like half to 3/4. So they will all be in July. But the one I did finish, I also put in my summer favorites, if that is up or it will be up soon. And it is Orphan's Tale. This is like one of the only adult books I read, I feel like, in June. But I love this. Pam Janoff is one of my favorite authors of all time. And so I buy every single one of her books as soon as they come out, as long as I know about them. And I loved this book. Again, she often writes historical fiction. She has written some non-historical fiction like romances, but they're always so well written and so well like historically accurate. But this one is about two women's friendship, which is a little bit different for her because a lot of times she does romance historical fiction, and it is about like 3 historical facts. So one is the orphans train, which is trains where like babies from like Jews and stuff were just taken away, and these babies were put in there, and they would often freeze to death, and they go to the camp to be killed. And that really did happen in World War II. The second fact is that there were circuses, and one of them was Jewish, so one of them got disbanded, and a lot of those people from that circus got killed. And then there was a third one who is not a main character, but a really big character in this book. It's about a circus performer who is a clown who does make fun of the Germans and gets arrested and killed. And he does have family in the circus. So this book is about Astrid and Noah, and I love the name Noah for a girl, which is really weird because it's been a man's name since Noah's Ark, I guess. But her name is N-O-A. I think that's how you pronounce it. But it starts with both girls in the beginning, and it flips from one to the next. And they both have completely different backgrounds, and it's just about their friendship. And at first they don't really get along because they do have such substantially different backgrounds, and they're forced to work together. One of them is a professional aerialist in the circus, and then the other one has no idea what she's doing, but they end up together in this performance, and it's really, really good, and it's really, really well written, and I love it. I love her writing. If you want good characterization writing, read any of Pam Jenoff's books. And this one even does do The Commandant's Girl, which was my first one, and it's so good. At the end, it has The Commandant's Girl, like the first chapter. But those are all the books I read in May and June, and obviously this is the one I recommend. And in April, obviously, it was When Breath Becomes Air, because that was a really good book, but this one will be on my best of book series. I didn't read a lot of quality books these 2 months, I realized, and I didn't think I had read that much, but when I counted them up, it turns out there were 12 of them. It's all the books I read. Thanks for watching if you stayed tuned till the very end, and the link down below, I should have Goodreads and everything. Please subscribe if you're into books, or I mean, I'm a mom, I'm into books, and I cook, and I bake, and I'm not one-dimensional, I guess you would say. I have a lot of stuff to do in my life, but so I have some vlogging, some trip vlogging, some favorites, some books, but I kind of do a bit of it all. And thanks for watching. Please subscribe below. Bye!